Hey folks, welcome to ADSR. I'm Stephen Ellisted. Make sure you subscribe to the ADSR YouTube channel and follow on social media for great production content. So Maschine has come out with the 2.6 update, which brings a lot of new features and functions to the Maschine platform. Most of these are bringing some functions from Jam over to 4x4 controllers. There's a couple of new Jam functions as well. And the biggest of all is the ability to control external devices using MIDI CC or continuous controller nodes. And this is really powerful because we can now control external hardware such as this synth I have here. Just using basic macro groups. And that's pretty straightforward. I've got a more in-depth look at all of these features coming up over the next week or so. But I'm just going to really quickly run through all of these in this video and give you a basic sense of how they work. With the MIDI CC control, what we're going to be doing is just coming over, either loading a preset which will be showing up in your user library, which is going to be coming along with the update. And the simplest way to do that, come over and on a particular track, we're going to go to macro. And so I've got these in my user library. With the update, they'll actually be coming out as part of the official update in native access. These show up in groups as full beat control for things like drum machines. And we also have them as sounds showing up as individual, say, mono or poly synths. So the Volca bass, for example, loads in a single sound slot, whereas the Volca beats would load into a group. Once I've got that set up, I've got a macro that's already there. And it's a very simple process to open that up and modify, MIDI learn, etc. And if we want to add additional pages, just come over here and add another parameter by clicking. Then we're going to choose MIDI. And then we're going to choose whichever particular MIDI output we want. There's some of the general assignment, general MIDI specification stuff there. If I want to put something on CC51 because my synth has, say, an envelope control there, I do that. If I want to, I can give it a different name. And now I've got that on my synth. But I do not have a Volca bass, nor do I know if that is an envelope control parameter. But that gives you the sense of how that works. So we come back to the Volca keys. Now we can see that all of these are here. I've got things like my LFO. These are how the envelope is affecting, say, the cutoff of the LFO and pitch. I've got my envelopes attack and release. And if I have other things that aren't necessarily in the preset, it's still a matter to go over to another page and just create as many of these as I need. Again, choosing MIDI and then choosing the CC out to set it up. In the videos that I'll be doing on MIDI CC, I'll go more in depth exploring what I do both with this Volca as well as with the MIBLIP Triode tabletop synth. We'll move over to the 4x4 controller. We've got some new functions. In particular, we've got the variation engine and the lock mode snapshots and morphing that we see on the Jam. And these are very, very useful, very straightforward. I'll just come over here, create a new pattern, and I'll just use, say, note repeat. And just record that. Let me solo the group. Locked in. By holding that in. And then we have a humanize or random function. And so we come over here, select our max velocity, minimum velocity, and approximately how much time in 5% increments. We can hold shift for finer increments and hit apply. Working with something like that, and then maybe a little bit of shift quantize and swing. Oops, we need to make sure that we're in our proper grid level. Say quantize there, but 50% quantize. And then maybe apply a little bit of swing either to the group or the sound. If we want to use the randomize function instead, we come over here and choose the probability that a particular note is affected, the velocity range, how much it's shifted in time, how many steps. And we can also have step increments there by holding down Shift. And then we can choose a couple of different distributions, which just define the probability of how they're laid across a certain area. And hit Apply. So some really interesting and useful stuff there as well. The ability to kind of create parts out of really simple, straightforward things, and the ability to humanize some of our more robotic sounding parts if that's not exactly what we're looking for. So one of the other things that we have available to us now is lock mode. No matter where we are on our 4x4 controller, we're just going to want to go up to channel, and we'll see we have a new lock function there. Doesn't matter which one we're in, groups, master, sound, macro. We can hit lock, and now we can go to lock mode. And if we hold down Shift, we get stereo lock. We can actually see our snapshots. So I've got this drum part. Let's say I want to pan everything. Lock mode allows us to take any modulation, a snapshot of anything that's happening, levels, pans, macros, everything like that, and take a snapshot of that status. So simply here I've got these panned. I can now hit update, and when I go to a different one, I see they're gone. Go back to that first one, and it's right back to where it was. And this can be really useful if we want to say snap something to a particular side. We'll put that one in the middle and update it. Put both of these to the left, update it, and now I've got that ability to just flip between these snapshots. Really useful for mixing, really useful for setting up, say, a filter across a drum bus, or bringing in different effects. And of course, we can use our performance effects, which are now part of the 4x4 control set as well. And with this, it's really easy to also set up our morphing mode rather than having it on the touch controller like we do here. Jam, we see it over here like that. Instead, if we go to morphing here, it's right in this window, and we can either choose target or travel. And target is how fast it's going to switch over immediately. So that's eighth notes. And if I want it to be at the bar, so we just pick a target destination of time where we want it to go. Now on travel, though, we can actually have it travel. We'll actually watch these morph over time. So over, say, a bar, we'll switch. So there's all kinds of interesting ways that we can use that to really get some creative effects, whether they're performance style or mix style, or just to transition parts between a section. So that's a look at the lock mode in brief, and I do have a follow-up video looking at that and Variation Engine in more detail. And one other feature we have that applies to all controllers is a smarter scale mode. So Maschine now remembers the last scale settings. And so when we go into the scale mode, we go into our keyboard mode, and here we have our scale and harmonic minor, what have you. Let's go over here and blues. When we come back here, it still remembers harmonic minor as our main scale from that set. Come over here, it's still the blues scale. It's a small change, but one that I think will speed up some workflows and make things a little bit easier. So with the Jam, we also have some new note editing capabilities. So let me get out of lock on there. And Jam users can now edit notes directly on the hardware to change note events and step modulations from the 8x8 pad. So I'll put one in there. We can literally just hold it, press. We can see how it extends as long as we need it to be. And I believe that's moving in the grid value. So if I change the grid value, yep, we see it moving. Press it down, swing activated. We can now see we're moving it in fine increments. Just like so. Now we can also do step modulation which is also very, very useful. And that lets us actually hold the step and apply a number of different things, whether it's level or pitch. So we hold that down, and now if we're on level, when we hold that down, we can adjust it. Now I've adjusted that level. Notice how it does change to reflect the group or what have you. So we could say set up a very simple, let's create a new pattern. So I've got that new pattern. Exit lock mode real quick. In this new pattern, on the step mode, I can come over and adjust, say, auxes. I can do some multiple events at once. I can say just bring my level up there, level down there, panning. And swing values. So some interesting ways that we can apply all kinds of different effects and modulation directly on the jam. And last thing that we have, this is jam only, is now the ability to copy patterns directly between groups. And so we can see that I was able to take all the MIDI data and transfer it to a different group, which was not previously possible, or at least not without kind of awkward workflow to work around some issues. So that's a good basic look at all the new features inside of Maschine 2.6. And in coming videos, I'll explore each of them in more direct detail and look at some of the greater picture implications and workflows of each of these new features. I'm Stephen Ellenstead for ADSR. Thanks for checking this video out. Subscribe to the ADSR YouTube channel. Have a great day.